Let's make it happen. It is a pleasure to kick off this episode of Netcore's Masterclass about reactivating dormant customers to drive growth. My name is Nick Einstein. I'm Vice President of Product Marketing and Analyst Relations at Netcore. I've also been doing email for a very, very long time, both as a strategist, as an analyst, as a practitioner, and now as a vendor. But the topic of reactivation is an important one. It's a big one, and it's one that we're only going to be able to scratch the surface of in the next 30 minutes. And so I've included my email here. If you want to follow up and discuss this topic in greater detail or hit a different angle of it, we're going to talk at a very high level about some broad topics and get some really solid strategies and tactics in there. But if you want to talk about how this applies to your business specifically, feel free to hit me up with an email. I'd love to follow up and discuss. And with that, the first little bit of context is the holidays are really different for all of us, depending on where we are on the planet, who we market to, what business vertical we're in. If we're selling Christmas trees, that's one thing. If we're selling Easter baskets, it's another. If we're selling items for Diwali and other holidays, that means something else. And so I'm going to talk about pretty broadly the holiday season in North America, but many of the themes apply year round. In North America, we're already hitting back to school. I'm amazed to see that people are actually going back to school right now. So back to school season is kind of when a lot of retailers kick off holiday campaigns, and we're going to be running right through December. And so just a little bit of context. I know it's different for everybody, and depending on who you are dialing in today and who your customers are, it's going to be a little different. Again, do feel free to reach out to me to discuss. What isn't up for grabs, what probably is true for most everyone dialing in today, is that the holidays are a high pressure season. It's when we're going to drive as retailers and D2C marketers around 25% of our revenue for the year. We're going to be tasked with it. It's a big number, and if we don't hit it, we're going to be behind. So a lot of what we need to how we need to optimize programs needs to be focused around this critically important season. Whether and again, this is about 25% for many retailers. It can be more, and if it's less, then we should be thinking about ways to optimize it. You will be seeing a few polls today. Appreciate you taking those. So the holidays are critical. We need to be optimizing towards them. And another kind of contextual stat: if you're like most email marketers out there, about 50% of your list is either dormant, inactive, or suppressed, depending on how what your strategy is for managing activity on your list and segmenting and potentially suppressing inactives. Whether you're suppressing them and you have a solid reactivation strategy in place or not, about 50% of your list is non-responsive. That represents a really big audience, right? That's a really big group, and for some of us, it can be make a big impact on overall metrics, or on our overall performance. And this is true across business verticals. However, e-com and retail especially true, because not only Is it just the basics of email that people subscribe and then many people ignore? But in retail, we get into a habit of buying and then not buying again. And oftentimes, this is a major goal that we're driving towards across e-com and retail as marketers, is getting that second and third purchase, driving repeat purchases and loyalty. But from an email perspective, oftentimes you're going to get that email address with that single purchase. And then the normal behavior of that subscriber is really just to not buy anymore. And so we can accumulate um, these big files of one and done shoppers or shoppers who are ignoring us, and that can be that can create problems, as we'll talk about in a minute. It can create problems, and it's also a real platform for opportunity. The reality is, if we're able to reactivate a meaningful percentage of our dormant customers, either our one and done buyers or those people on our list who have been ignoring us for a period of time, and again, for different businesses in different geos with different lists, that inactivity window is variable, right? For if you're mailing people every day and they're ignoring you for and you're a daily deal site and you have someone ignoring you for 90 days, let's say, that's something to look at. If you're selling mattresses and the sales cycle is much longer, and you're just occasionally messaging and you're not getting overall engagement, maybe that window can be much longer. But if you're able to reactivate dormant customers now, it can make a meaningful impact on your business during the holidays. It can open up our mailable universe and give us a big opportunity to drive incremental sales and incremental engagement, incremental sales for sure. So why aren't we all doing it right now? We have to be careful. The reality is the nowadays, and for anyone who missed our Google and Yahoo deliverability webinars, I think we did maybe 3 of them at Netcore. And if you go to netcorecloud.com and go to the resources section, I'm sure they're in that webinar section. But even before the Google and Yahoo deliverability changes, and for those of you who didn't see the webinars, do check them out. But basically, Google and Yahoo are mandating that senders have authentication and their domain keys are up to date and valid, and one click unsubscribes. Basically, domain keys and encryption setup, but also a spam rate threshold, and spam rates need to be below 0.1%. And so if we implement reactivation programs around the holidays that run afoul of any of these kind of basic deliverability mandates, spam complaints being one, right? We got to keep them low. And then overall engagement rates. It's no secret that the big mailbox providers leverage engagement rates to determine inbox placement and overall deliverability. And so we need to be very careful about reactivating around the holidays, specifically to ensure that we don't run afoul of these key tenets, basic tenets. We don't want to drive spam complaint rates, and we want to ensure that our overall engagement rates remain high. So how do we do that intelligently? And we're gonna get into a little a few do's and don'ts here, and then I'm going to dig deeper into one really effective way to do it. And I'm going to welcome some questions at the end if you have them too. But there are some basic tenets. Do begin early with small strategic segments. Okay, many of us who do have a big inactive file either have been suppressing it and have it sitting off in a segment in a place somewhere without without having engaged with it for a while, or many of us just have those inactives built into our overall list, if you will, or into our overall audiences, and we need to do a little bit of work to kind of segment them out, to identify them and begin treating them differently. But do begin strategically and early with small segments. Ideally, this an effective reactivation program runs year round. We're identifying folks and acting to re-engage them and reactivate them around the year, or across the calendar. It's most important during the holidays, but we don't want to wait until the holidays to do it necessarily. And I would say if you're not doing it now, we can do it now, but we need to be very intelligent. We don't want to wait until December and just blast, email out in an indiscriminate manner. We want to do it slowly with strategic segments, and we want to do it over time. We want to, and I might just skip to number 3 here as a fits better, but we want to prioritize the newest data first. New data is often better data. Old data, very old data, is often very bad data. So we want to prioritize new data. But the reality is, when we're reactivating audiences and looking specifically at holiday marketing, we're going to see a lot of segments who are gift givers, who are not buying for themselves, who potentially only visit us during the holidays, or depending again on our business vertical or our audiences. But there are ways to identify who we believe are gift givers in that audience of inactives and prioritize them for special treatment. And newest data, gift givers, always prioritized. We don't want to dig up all the old emails from years past. I don't want to get into a big conversation about spam traps and old email addresses being converted over to traps and things, but old data can be bad data. And the old, very, very old data, and again, it's variable depending on who you are, is often best left alone or treated very carefully. Back up to number 2 here. Do test, measure, optimize on an ongoing basis. There are far too many programs, and many people do have reactivation programs automated, so they're running on an ongoing basis, and looking for segments, pulling them out, putting them in a specific reactivation streams. And oftentimes, like many streams that get automated, people set them and forget them. And we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're being very, very data driven in how we're addressing these audiences and optimizing for engagement to drive them towards our intended outcomes and their best customer experiences as well. And we need to do that, be able to measure effectively to do that. If we're just mixing up segments or not able to pull them out and ID them, we're going to have a problem. Do use all of your customer data. Do personalize messages based on everything you have. Do try to get more data. Explore other data sources. Zero-party data sources are great. Surveying these audiences is always a winning strategy if you can get them activated. Using other data sources. There are a host of other data sources. either append data sources, either sources that enable you to cleanse data and do this. If you're doing this at scale and do have some older data, always I suggest leveraging some data expertise to help cleanse the data. And then there's other interesting sources that help folks identify other activity sources, but they're ID graphs, and Live Intent has one. There are others where you can learn more about your audiences, where they're engaging, when they're engaging, and layer those data sources in to better personalize, engage these messages to these audiences. We don't want to send just plain Jane messages, because the reality is those strategies that we've been employing to date have driven this inactivity in these audiences specifically. And so we need to adjust strategies when engaging with inactive or dormant audiences to do something different, right? We need to adjust our strategies. We need to deliver extraordinary messaging, and we need to stand out from the other messaging they've received. We can't assume that doing the same thing is going to drive different results. Yeah, a famous relative of mine once said that's insanity. But what one winning strategy that we're going to dig into now is how to use email in a different way to reactivate audiences. I posit that not only does this new paradigm, and we're going to talk about interactive email, help us reactivate audiences, it helps us keep them active over the long term and prevent that one and done situation, or that situation where we oftentimes are engaging with audiences or sending messages into the echo chamber. And so leveraging a new way to use email, interactive email, through preference collection, engagement with the product catalog, through both kind of graphically through swipes and carousels, also searching the catalog and adding to cart, removing from cart, engaging after we've got them active, feedbacks, surveys. We want to understand who they are better so that we can begin to tailor messages that are engaging. And one way to do this is through interactive email. Not going to be able to address 100% of the audience with interactive email, but Gmail subscribers, Yahoo subscribers specifically, 100% addressable when using the web clients or the native email clients. We can see a big lift in overall metrics by engaging those audiences specifically with reactivation messaging that drives real value. I mentioned it a minute ago, zero-party data capture. It's with zero-party data, we can be much more effective with how we're addressing our audiences, how we're segmenting them and addressing them. And if we can generate some zero-party data from audiences that had been inactive, and in many cases we can through interactive messaging, that's going to give us fuel to drive these programs, drive value in these programs moving forward, and reactivate them and create better customer experiences. Whether it's through preference collection, certainly post-purchase surveys and feedback, we can, by orders of magnitude, increase the engagement rates, conversion rates on them by putting those messages directly in the email itself, as opposed to making people click out of the email to go and engage with these actions on a website or in an app. Up to 40%, 400% increase, 500% increase, depending on kind of how we're executing it and what we're asking folks to do. But by capturing zero-party data, we're able to really drive better programs. And by leveraging interactive email, we're able to scale those zero-party data capture programs. Overall engagement with the product catalog. What we've been, I mentioned it a minute ago, what we've been sending these audiences to date has not kept them engaged for whatever reason. If we're sending them messages that are more engaging, ideally more tailored for sure, leveraging all the data that we have on them and ideally more data, and then presenting them with engaging messaging that really connects them with our brand, whether it's through product carousels, which I think is kind of low-hanging fruit, different engagement methodologies. In the second one over, we're seeing kind of Tinder swipes, yes, no, I like this, I don't like this. Gamification, we know that gamification works, and we use it all the time. We can see big lifts if we are able to launch gamification programs that are just right in people's inboxes. Oftentimes, clicking through to another experience provides enough friction in that funnel for enough dropout that gamification, it becomes nice to have. If we can enable it directly in the inbox, and some brands do it with every send, as just an element of a message, whether it's in a header or footer or something, we can really drive incremental engagement. And that incremental engagement, again, is that type of engagement that can last over time. Keep people coming back for more, and reducing that one and done engagement in our email programs. Scratch and reveal is another easy one, that templatized type engagement method that again can drive incremental engagement. Ultimately, conversions, whether it's across preference collections, surveys, in cart recoveries, whether you're searching or shopping in the message itself, the conversion metrics go through the roof when we're able to remove a step in the conversion funnel and present these either formerly in web or formerly in-app experiences directly in the email inbox. Again, it's a removing a step, removing a click. It's actually in many cases several clicks, and a real core component of the conversion funnel. By removing it, we reduce friction, we drive incremental conversions. And it's not just reserved for email. One thing to think about when engaging reactivated folks is they may just not be particularly active in email. And we can, through a lot of ID resolution and or zero-party data, engage folks intelligently across channels. We can, and when we do so, potentially reactivate them back into our email channel too, especially when we're leveraging, again, interactivity and really extraordinary messaging. When we're engaging them in some of these channels, we can also take it the next level and engage with them through really interactive experiences in their channels of choice. WhatsApp is a huge one across the globe, getting to be much bigger in the US now, North America as well, and it's big in North America, getting to be bigger in the US as well now, and we can get very interactive in the WhatsApp inbox as well. as well as RCS, which not a lot of folks in North America are leveraging now, but is a really powerful, rich communication stream, in chat message that to drive two-way communications and real interactive inbox experiences. A couple examples of it in action: photo book. Just by leveraging some basic segmentation, not big data science programs, or basic RFM segmentation, figuring out kind of who's who on the list, and addressing them with highly personalized messaging and gamified messaging, quiz messaging, generating incremental zero-party data, and customer data, saw an enormous lift in overall ROI, and a big number of shoppers reactivated to go engage further. And so these programs, again, are the types of programs that generate near-term ROI and then lasting lift on overall programs. So a really solid example from Photobook. And then Goibibo, which is a travel site, big international travel site, just through some interactive inbox commerce, some messaging, interactive messaging enabled in the inbox, was able to quickly and easily reactivate 15% of their customers in time to address key kind of holiday times. Many times, at scale, if take a look at your list, net out those inactive consumers, and if we're able to go back and reactivate 15% of a list at scale, that can be a really meaningful lift on the business. And I'd say that 15% for depending on the list and again, many of the criteria we discussed earlier, is not a is a very reasonable target for many brands. I would like to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't, a couple things to mention. If you didn't see the Google Yahoo webinars that we did in the spring, and I would go back and watch those. They are great resources and will provide a lot of context on why we need to be careful about reactivating during the holidays. And then if you missed the Masterclass #1, which was with Emily Pfeiffer from Forrester, that was a great session on balancing personalization and optimization, which is critical when we're reactivating customers too. So I would highly suggest you go back and check that one out too. And then we have a really great session coming next week with Jan Marks, who runs Latin America and Europe at VWO. And he's talking about predicting and personalizing, testing and optimizing experiences in prep for the holidays. And that's another topic that shoehorns really great into this one too, because again, we need to be doing it on an ongoing basis to optimize. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for joining us today. If you do have questions, hit me up directly. I would love to continue the conversation. Nicholas.Einstein@netcorecloud.com. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you making the time.